Thank you very much, Ajay, for the kickoff to this session this morning. I want to thank IESA for inviting me to come this morning and share some thoughts with you. And it's a pleasure and honor to be with Professor Raghavan here this morning too. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The subject is taking India to ESDM leadership, the subject of your summit. We need technology to take us to leadership, and Professor Raghavan is here to share thoughts on that subject and to lead new thinking on that subject. We need entrepreneurship to take us to ESDM leadership, and of course no one better than Ajay Chaudhary, his thoughts and leadership in that regard. But there's a third area in which we need action in the country to take us to ESDM leadership, which is policy. And so that's the area that I'm going to share some thoughts about. And I'm going to focus very much on the theories that drive policy. Policy is not an ideology-free subject. It is driven by ideology. It is, as much as it's technology, policy is also driven by theory. So I want to get down to the heart of the matter, the ideologies and the theories that drive policy and how we are shaping them, reshaping them in our country to get policies which will enable ESDM leadership, which Mr. Ajay Chaudhary has already mentioned. The discourse in the country in the last year or two, if you look at the newspapers and the television channels, and especially if you're reading the business papers and the papers which cover the economy, which most of us in the business and industrial world would need to do and do, the debate has become debates about decimal points. Is the economy going to grow at 8.2% in 5 years or 8%? Has it grown 5% this year, or will it have grown 5.5% this year? And one wonders what difference it makes, whether it's 8.2 or 8 or 5.5 or 5. We need much more, very much more. So rather than waste time about who's more accurate and whose prediction is going to come right, we should be focusing on what needs to be done to make the bigger number, come about. And for that, one has to, rather than debating decimals, talk about fixing the fundamentals. The engine of economic growth, whereby are produced at the end when one measures these numbers, the engine itself of economic growth moves on two rails. One rail is the rail of economic reforms and the rail of financial systems, and all of which can then be expressed in a budget, which a finance minister is responsible for, and that is important. But economists, and I'm afraid many business people are focusing only on that or too much on that, as if merely lubricating the wheels of economic reforms and having more fluid financial flows is going to make India's economic growth move faster. The engine of economic growth has wheels, two sets of wheels, one on this rail of economic reforms and financial systems, but the other set of wheels works on real institutions that work on the ground. Institutions that get things done. Institutions that make things and get things done. And those wheels have been too stuck in our country for many years now. And no matter how much more lubrication and relief you give to the wheels on the first track, if the wheels on the second track are grinding with friction, you will derail. And so our economic growth, if I can candidly say, has derailed in the last couple of years. Because it's not so much the need for more openness to foreign investment. We have plenty. Almost all our sectors are open to 100% foreign investment. It's not that we need to have more openness to private investments in industry. Every sector is decontrolled in this country and open to private investment, almost every sector. So it's not that. It is that things are not getting done. So if things don't get done, then even we as practical business people, yourselves, are not going to rush in and put money if the money is just going to get stuck and the project is stuck and things don't move. So to invite more capital and more investment, which is the need of the hour, I say merely talking about more openness to more foreign investment is not going to bring the investment in. It's actually making the wheels on the implementation move that is going to then draw in more investment, and with that investment, more faster movement of the wheels too, and we are going to get the engine of growth back on track and moving fast again. The challenges of the economy, in terms of the total challenge, the socio-political challenge of the economy, is to create more jobs. India proudly says that, well, we are the economy that's going to be the second or third largest in the world in a few years' time, because we've got the right demographics, lots of young people, and they are going to somehow make this country's economy very large. But for them to make the economy very large, they've got to get jobs first. And with the jobs, to have savings and purchase and consumption. So the key is they need jobs. Otherwise, what the economist calculates in terms of the savings of people and the investments or the purchases made by people, that will not happen. The second need we have, a more immediate need, is to balance our current account deficit, which is growing quite alarmingly. And in that regard, this industry is a key. And I guess all of you helped to contribute to the alarm by reminding the policymakers that if we continue to, along with our growth, import oil and petroleum, which we have to, because we don't have enough hydrocarbon resources of energy in the country, but also continue to import electronic hardware, which has become like the fuel of almost every product and industry that we know of, whether automobiles or aeroplanes or communication equipment, we are going to get, in terms of a CAD, the current account deficit broke. And so these are the two alarms for policymakers today, immediate ones. The third one is the fiscal deficit, is the current account deficit and jobs, and how are jobs going to happen in this country. For that, manufacturing has turned out to be the real laggard in the growth story of India in the last 20 years, and it is also therefore the key for the growth of jobs as well as balancing our current account deficit, and in which I once again say the ESDM industry is going to be a key. We, in the last 20 years, have followed an ideology, a philosophy of development, which said that the government should have no role, actually, and leave it to the market and leave it to the private sector, and the right good things shall happen. But that has resulted in the situation that we are in today. So there is a clear recognition now in policymakers in our country that we need an industrial policy. By the way, this is not just here. The United States, from which sprang most of this demand on the rest not to have government in the state or in the country and to leave it to private capital. The US itself is saying they need jobs and they need to manage their current account deficits vis-a-vis China. They need an industrial policy. So many countries in the world, which were for the last 20 years dismissive of the role of government in shaping industry and industrial growth and manufacturing, are trying to refigure what the government's role should be. It clearly cannot be the role that we had as a government 20-odd years ago, when we controlled everything because we wanted to be sure that the right things were being done and that we'd monitor that they were being done, which is the theory. It's a good management theory, but then results in people who are too far away from the action, less knowledgeable about the action, becoming the controllers of those who really know what the action should be and are taking the action. So that view of industrial policy that's about controlling things, a model of inputs, outputs, and controlling things, is not the model we want. It doesn't work. But nor do we want a model of industrial policy which says no industrial policy is the best industrial policy. We need a better model. And what is it? What is it? Looking at the successes of countries that have grown very strong industries over decades, sometimes continue to grow now over centuries even, the essence of industrial growth is a process of learning. If, as a coach or a doctor, I have to help a organism, a system, to grow more effectively, I need to have three models. One is a model of the thing. I mean, what is this system? What does it consist of? And just like a doctor needs to have a model of the body to say, well, it has blood flows, it has nervous flows, it has digestive systems, and so on, and see the whole system to understand that is the system. The second is a model of how that system itself functions and improves itself. And if I don't have that accurately, then I can't intercede with that system effectively. And so from an understanding of how the system makes good things happen itself, then I can develop a model of coaching, facilitating, helping the system to become effective, more healthy and effective. And so what is the model of industrial growth? What is the process by which industrial growth happens? As I said, it is a process of societies learning to do more complex things than they were able to do previously. That's what industrialization is about. It's about learning and learning to do more complex things.